and here we go for a round of looking at the eBay cameras that are coming up for sale at around about 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock onwards tomorrow night. That is Sunday night, the time when a lot of film cameras come up for sale. So without much further ado, let's crack on and have a look and see what's interesting coming up for sale and which bargains can be had. So first of all, I'd like to ask you to like the video and subscribe if you feel inclined. I do a sort of weekly roundup of the eBay cameras that are going in the film market on a Sunday night from about 5 o'clock onwards for a couple of hours, and I'm focusing on those cameras that are realistically priced or will go for a realistic price, having a quick look at the ones that I think will be worth bidding on, and then potentially bidding on some of them. So from last week, I have 4 cameras that I've purchased, and I've got 3 of them in, waiting for the last one to come in, and then I will be doing a review of those cameras. And I've got to say, there were some absolute crackers there. A beautiful Canon T90 for a very, very good price, that's fully working, and what a beautiful camera that is. I like, in the SLR market, I like cameras that are practical, that work, that don't need a lot of work to get working, and potentially do not need a CLA, a clean lubrication and adjustment, but you can use straight out the box and go and shoot with, which is ideally what we need to do. Prakticas are always good cameras to have a look at, and you'll find that the Praktica is a great practical camera that's very solid, very reliable, and very straightforward to use. So for example, this Praktica Super TL here, if we have a look at that, it's a 1.8 lens, some dirt and stuff on it, but fundamentally it just needs a clean. Goes up to 500ths of a second. It's currently at the sort of price that I think it would sell at. I don't think it would go for much more than about 24 quid. It is a nice old camera, pretty much manual, and does what it does. So, cameras like that are well worth having a look at. I don't dwell too long on the Plastic Fantastics because a lot of those are desperately overpriced, and just I don't really see why anybody would want to buy a Plastic Fantastic when they can get a full metal bodied, beautiful lens SLR camera with all the manual adjustments if they want to for the same price. It just seems ludicrous to me. Anyway, let's move on and skip through the ones I think are worth having a look at. The Olympus Pen D, they're a half-frame camera, so you get 72 shots out of a 36 film, so very practical. They've got a 1.9 lens on them. This one's going for £65, and it's got a 3.2 lens on it. The light cells generally tend to go, and so the light meter tends to not be working, but look at the description and it says condition is used. It doesn't really say too much about it, so I'd assume that the light meter's knackered because it doesn't say it's not. That's the sort of basis that you've got to go on these days. If they don't say it's working, just assume that it's not working. Anyway, £65, well above my price bracket for that sort of camera. I wouldn't generally go for that. The Canon T70 is a nice camera. You can get one that's working well. It's a predecessor to the T90, which is just about one of my favourite all-time Canons, film cameras. Beautiful camera, the T90. If you can get your hands on one that's working, grab it quick, especially if it's sort of around the 50-60 quid mark. The T70 is a good all-round camera, fairly modern as film cameras go. 70 quid, right up there with the pricing. I wouldn't pay that for it myself personally. The Pentax K1000 always go for a lot of money, overpriced in my opinion. They're just a very basic, pretty much manual camera. A great starter camera, but just the name you're paying for. You can get the Spotmatic for better money, and it's just as reliable. Anyway, this is obviously 22 hours to go because I'm filming this on the Saturday. So this is roughly sort of 5 o'clock tomorrow, which is Sunday. £41, got 2 bids, got 4 watches on it. I would assume that that would go for probably closer to £100, well overpriced for what it is. A few plastic fantastics, as I say, if you want to just get a point and shoot, just go for a cheap one. You don't need anything too expensive. My personal opinion is to go for a fixed lens rather than a zoom lens plastic fantastic. So go for something that's just got one focal range, which is going to give you a much better quality of photograph than the zoom lens, and the zoom lenses can be quite unreliable. So that's what I would personally go for. The Nikon TW, I know it's a zoom camera, but they are good all-round cameras with great lenses. A little bit bulkier than some of the smaller ones, but well worth having a look at. So let's skip on. Here's a Canon A1. Now, you'd be very lucky to find one of those for under £100 that's any good. Again, a bit like the Pentax K1000s. Overpriced for what they are, and you're paying for the A1 name. Personally, nothing special about that camera. 1.8 lens. It's a semi-automatic camera. It's going to go for over £100. When you can get so many other cameras, SLR 35mm film cameras, that are much more reliable than this and more robust for probably a quarter of the price or half the price. So if you want to splash your cash, get one of those A1s, and it's probably got some sort of snobby value, but that's about it as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so the ST605s, they are built like bricks, very reliable. If you can get one that's in good condition, they are well worth having a look at for a starter camera. Check the foam seals. This one looks pretty grotty, and there's one photograph, probably, so it's probably a private sale, not a dealer. Unfortunately, it's probably going to need a fair bit of work, and you can get a better deal than that. So the vintage Olympus Trip 35 ED here. Now that's a nice camera. They will go for a lot of money. This is for parts not working, which probably means there is quite a lot wrong with it. Definitely things like light seals, although they don't look disastrous, but obviously will need changing. It's an Olympus 35 ED. I'm not really sure where the Olympus Trip bit came in, but anyway, it's a nice enough camera. They're very popular. It's 40 quid at the moment. It's for parts not working, but all it probably needs is a clean. Said it was working 15 plus years ago. It's got a nice 2.8 38mm lens on it. I'd definitely have a look at that. Keep an eye on it, but not for me. So let's have a look. EOSs are okay, but they tend to get sticky, and they are a bit plastic fantastic-y, but they go for ridiculously cheap money if you just want a camera that is, if you can get a reliable one, a good all-round SLR camera, well worth having a look at. So let's just skip through and find something that's half decent. The Minolta Himatic F rangefinder. That's a nice camera. You can find one in good condition. This one looks to be just grubby at the moment. It's only a couple of pictures. If we look at the other items, it's largely camera stuff. So it looks like it's possibly a camera dealer or someone just getting rid of all their camera gear. Again, I wouldn't get involved with that sort of camera myself. Personally, I like to find these, but they would have to go for good money because there's going to be work to be done on them. All the Minoltas are great lenses, good cameras, go for next to nothing money, but like the Canon EOSs, they are plastic fantastics. That they are very plasticky. So let's try and find something that I think is a good buy that is worth definitely having a look at. So here's an example of a camera that looks like a great metal point and shoot camera that I definitely would not touch. It's a Konica C35 rangefinder. In great condition, they are great. 12 quid, so you think, oh, that's good. Then closer inspection. So yeah, there's loads of scuffs. The lens ring front ring looks like it's got dents in it, and when you look at the actual camera, it's a bit grubby, fair enough. The actual battery screw container looks like it's had some leakage of batteries in there previously, which may or may not have been cleaned up. The light seals look absolutely knackered, and generally speaking, it looks like it's going to need a fair bit of work. But a dual upper camera. Now that went for, well, around that sort of money, £12–15 maybe. Then if it was completely done up and sort of working, it may be worth the money, but only tops about £15. Then, you know, you can read all the blurb, blah blah blah, it's a fantastic camera, blah blah blah, but basically you've got to be willing to put the work in. Alternatively, there's this Pentax. Now this is the Pentax P50. It's got 1.7 lens, and it looks to be in quite grubby condition. Personally, I would go for the P30 rather than the P50. P50's got a lot of electronics with it that generally make it more unreliable. They've all got pretty good lenses, so I would, for the same money, I wouldn't pay anything more than that anyway, but for the same money I would go for a P30, which doesn't have all the electronics but is a great camera and not abused as much as the P50, where people tended to leave the batteries in and didn't really know what they were doing, and they were used and abused. So yeah, I'll definitely P30 over the P50 any day. You'll find there's a lot of Olympus trips coming up. They were sold in thousands, tens of thousands, and the light sales do go. If you can find one in really good condition for around £40, it's worth it. Anything more, I'd say not worth it. This one's got 3 bids on it, all right. It's got a day to go, so it's going to finish about 5:30 tomorrow on Sunday. It'll probably go for a lot more than that. I've got a couple I wouldn't consider buying anymore. There's a nice little Mamiya 135EE. So a nice little point and shoot rangefinder, metal body, and okay, at first glance it looks pretty clean. It's got a 2.8 lens. Mamiya, which obviously is synonymous with good cameras. The general condition looks to be very clean. It's got it's pretty much auto camera with different scales for landscapes and portraits, etc. So generally a point and shoot. The battery cover looks to be good condition. The light seals don't look too bad, but maybe needing replacing. So it's got a starting bid of £12, price £45. Buy it now. That is probably worth £45. If you could get that for £25, that would be an absolute beauty camera if it's all working as they say it is. So again, that is one of the cameras that I would definitely be interested in. It's a great little rangefinder, point and shoot, metal bodied camera. Beats the plastic fantastics any day of the week. That's the sort of thing I would be looking for. Okay, so here we go. We've got the Pentax Spotmatic 1000, and that is a beautiful camera if you can get one that's in good condition. Okay, 6 bids, £10 at the moment, which is obviously not going to go for that money, but may go quite cheaply. Now, if you can find one in good condition, then they are really worth it. They're great starter cameras, but they're great cameras anyway. This one's got, unfortunately, what looks to be quite a rough lens, and it's f2 lens, so not the greatest of lenses, but it's okay, stock lens, and it looks to be in pretty good condition, just needs a bit of a clean up with its case. If that went for £20, that would be the bargain of one of the bargains of the evening that I would definitely go for. Okay, so here we have the Canon FTB QL quick load, and the FTBs, the Canon FTBs, they are built like tanks. Brilliant starter camera, really worth the money. This has got no bids on it. It's currently 60 quid. Okay, so it says in clear signs of use, but perfect functionality. So what we got to check with those is the only thing really to double check is that the light meter works on it, and that's one of the key areas. It says the light meter works, shutter fires at all speeds, and the lens is clean and clear. New battery fitted, ready to go. Well, That's a good camera. It's dirty, it needs a good clean, and it also needs the light seals replaced. You can see the mirror slap light seal at the top there completely rotted away. The lens looks okay. The actual camera body looks okay, could do with a clean obviously, but these are great cameras. I think 60 quid is right up there for that. Unfortunately, they are built like tanks and a great camera, but 60 quid is right up there, so I'm not sure that will go for any more money than that. Now the Yashica FRs are nice cameras. This one comes with 2 lenses. No bids, £34. Great basic camera. It's got a 1.7 lens on there. It's also got a zoom lens. The general body looks to be okay, I would say. Obviously all these things need a clean up, but the mirror looks a bit buggered at the bottom, and the foam seal on the mirror slap is definitely needing to be replaced, so there's that job to do. A good cleanup, and the light seals would have to be all completely replaced. Generally speaking, it's a camera there that is a good reliable camera if it's in good condition and working. And it says seems, interestingly spelt, to be working but not fully tested. So yeah, 34 quid, that's why it's got no bids. That's unfortunately the way it's described and in that condition, that's a 15 quid camera all day long. So overpriced, don't go paying too much for these things because they're just not worth the hassle. You know, you're better off getting something like this Praktica LTL. This one's got no bids, starting bid of 15 quid. Nice little camera, starter camera. Okay, it's got a 2.8 lens on it, not the quickest of lenses of course, but you know, let's have a look at it. Generally speaking, it looks to be okay. It needs a bit of a clean, but generally there doesn't seem to be an awful lot wrong with that camera. Great start camera, and for the money, well, not film tested but seems in good order. Battery terminal is clean. I would definitely, if I was starting photography, be looking at that sort of camera straight out the box. If you could get that for £20 plus £5 shipping, that's £25. That's a great little camera. Oh dear, there's a Holger. Plastic, really fantastic plastic. This thing's got light leaks, fall apart, but they go for good money. £25 for a piece of plastic. And yet we just looked at a lovely Praktica metal bodied, nice lens, reliable, that's currently going at £15 and probably will go for £20 as opposed to this thing. Oh, that's a 120 film camera, that's 35mm, but come on what planet? As a side note, isn't it just amazing? We're scrolling through all these cameras and they're pretty much all rubbish. They've all got so many things wrong with them, but you look at them and you think at first glance, that's a good camera, £27. The Exa 2B, nice camera, but then look closely at the detail and you can see that obviously it's being cleaned, but the top plate is dirty. The back is showing signs of wear and tear. The lens looks like it's pretty dirty, probably not being cleaned. The base plate looks alright. Generally speaking, it's got some leatherette peeling off on the top plate, front's missing the top plate, and the lens is obviously just a 2.8. It's quite an old camera. If you can find one that's working really reliably, they're okay, but you know, it's a sort of 20 quid all day long type thing. Focus is stiff in parts and blades need lubricating. Blades need lubricating. We don't lubricate blades, shutter blades. Selling in spares repairs. So this is nearly 30 quid starting bid. They've put that up at, and it needs a lot of work, complete CLA, you know, probably £100 being spent on it, and that's £27. It's almost criminal. Would not touch that with a barge pole. So there we go, and we scroll through these cameras, and each one that we've been looking at, pretty much, we've seen 3 or 4, but most of them have been absolute rubbish. The Olympus OM10s, if you can find a really nice one, are worth considering. Like I said last week, go for the one that's got the shutter speed control on retrofitted onto it as well, and then you've got a fully manual camera if you want it. This one again looks pretty filthy. Looks like it's been stuffed in a drawer for the last 20-30 years, and goodness knows how much work needs doing on that. But it's 27 quid. It's got 5 bids. If you're into doing up films, it's worth having a look at. But if you just want a camera just to go buy, load of film, shoot and enjoy and have fun, then you're talking Pentax P30, you're talking the Praktica range if you can find a nice one. They're all going to go cheap, and they're all really good cameras. Okay, so I cracked open the whiskey. Got a nice glass of whiskey going now, because it's not very enthusiastic here, because we're well into the happy hour for tomorrow's cameras, and still really haven't come across anything that's half decent worth bidding on. I mean, look at this Olympus 35 SP. Yeah, nice enough camera if it's in really good nick. £220 starting bid, and there's no bids. Surprise, surprise. Someone looks like they've cleaned it up, but it is a very old point and shoot camera. Yeah, it's got some black and white photos. Who knows if they were actually taken on that camera? Who can tell? In full working order. They're calling it a street camera, and then justifying a price of £220. Really? I mean, is it tucked away in its case because some of the leatherette's peeling off, or it's dirty, or what? Who knows? But that's not going to sell. And then we've always got the range of Plastic Fantastic cameras. It's worth bidding on if you want something like that. The Nikomats are wonderful cameras if you can find a decent one. I mean, this one's already got 9 bids on it, ready for tomorrow. It's got the 1.8 lens. It's got some, what should we say, patina, even some rust coming through there, or brassing as some people will call it. So this is a well-used camera. You can see even the lens shutter is not linked into the lens. You can see the actual rod there is actually not in the lens, so somebody doesn't know what they're doing. Brassed all over the place. Obviously the back's in grotty conditions, new light seals, and 28 quid. The part's not working. 28 quid is about the right price for it. There's been 9 bids already. That's probably going to go for an overpriced pricing, but it's definitely not a camera you could buy and then load a film and go out shooting with. Absolutely not. This Chinon CE4S. Now they're the sort of cameras that go under the radar, and if you find a half decent one, you can go straight out and shoot with. This one's got the looks like the power winder on the bottom, which is a bit superfluous, but look at the condition of that lens. That looks like it's just been dragged out of some pit somewhere and whacked onto a lens. And look at that flash gun. You can see where the batteries have been leaking profusely. Look at the state of that. Oh dear me. I even feel sorry for the camera. Yes, we can see that is a disgusting... Oh, there you go. Yeah. In need of some restoration, one would say. 10 quid? I wouldn't pay 5 quid for that. Get one in good condition though. Worth the money all day long. Let's get back to reality, shall we? Let's find some actual cameras that are actually worth the money that they're being advertised for. Okay, looks like we might find one. Nikon F501. Don't tell people about this little beauty. These are beautiful cameras. I have a few of them, and every single one of them is fantastic. Okay, so there is absolutely nothing to not like about this camera. It is a fantastic camera. This one's even got an old film still in it. Goes up to 2000s of the shutter speed. It's got continuous shooting. It's got single shot shooting. It's got built-in power winder. It's Nikon quality. It's autofocus lenses. You know, well, what can I say? There's nothing to not like about this camera. £25. £25 starting bid. It possibly would go for about £40. Now, if you want a camera you can just buy, go, and then shoot as soon as you bought it, you're looking at it, go on eBay, find yourself a nice lens to go with it, and you've got a wonderful camera. Don't tell everybody about them, will you? Because I love these cameras. F301s, 401s, 501s, 601s, 801s. The Nikon F range is just fantastic. I may even put a bid on that myself, to be honest. Okay, here we go, the old Pentax P30 untested, £15. You get a nice P30, they're beautiful little cameras. great, simplistic, just work. That light seal looks perfect. Nice leatherette, thousandths of a speed and program mode. Very simple to use. Looks like it's been actually quite well used. Let down by this horrendous zoom lens 3570 Sigma. I mean, it's an okay-ish lens, but nothing really special. It says it's untested, and it looks nice. It looks very nice. 15 quid. Gosh, well, that might go for 20-25 quid. But what a great camera. I'd definitely consider that with the Nikon 501. Okay, so now we're starting to get potentially a few nice cameras coming up. Okay, here's a nice little camera, point and shoot. The Ricoh 500GX. It's a great little, very small 35mm. It's got a nice 2.8 40mm lens on it. You can see 28 people are watching it, and it's got 6 bids. So you know that's going to go for good money. Always be suspicious of the self-timer looking like it's half cocked, which could mean some problem or it's being forced at some point. Genuinely speaking, it looks to be in very good condition. It says it's pretty much untested, but it's not going to go for 16 quid, I can tell you. But we're worth keeping an eye on that. If that went for 25-30 pounds, that would be a great little camera, assuming that it's obviously working correctly. I quite like looking at these cameras and using the pickclick.co.uk site, because it's easy to scroll through them very quickly, and you can pinpoint the cameras that you're interested in very quickly. I mean, here's a Leica Mini, and you can see it's got 33 watches on it, and that's quite nice to be able to quickly see how many people are watching something. It's always a good indicator of its popularity. It's £10.50, 2 bids. Yes, I'd probably get that if I was interested in Leicas, but the reality is it's not going to go for £10.50 or anything like that. It's got 33 people who are just avidly watching, waiting to see what the price is going to do. They haven't actually bid yet, but come tomorrow, Sunday night at the witching hour of whatever it's going to be, 7 o'clock PM, that's going to go ballistic and be totally overpriced. So that's why I wouldn't even bother getting semi-excited about that now, because it's just not going to happen. It's going to go for too much money. Leicas and Canon A1s, Pentax K1000s, they all get sold on their name, and it depends what you're looking for. But if you just want a good all-round camera, go for something that is ready to go, much cheaper, solid, reliable, probably got an inbuilt meter with just a battery for the meter, but everything else manual, or with a program mode. But that's about all you need to start with. These little Nikon TW2 point and shoot compact cameras are great cameras if you can buy one or find one that's in good condition and working. This one, and it's a horrible photograph. Look at the state of the battery compartment. So 20 quid, but that's probably the sort of price I'd be looking to pay for something like that. I wouldn't get carried away with things like Olympus trips and things like that. They always go for too much money. If you can find a Canon EOS and you want to start a camera that's going to get you going, then they're great as well. The Chinon C4, C5 range, they're great starter cameras. Not even starter cameras. People who use do a lot of photography. They're great little cameras. This one's got looks like the 1.7 lens on it. Not 100% sure, but if you can find a good clean one, this one looks to be pretty good condition. Clean battery compartment. So there's nothing, what's not to like about that? It's got an auto mode, it's got a manual mode, it's got a half decent lens on it. It's a nice camera. Starting bid 15 quid. No one's bid. Probably won't go for much more than 20 quid. And you've got a camera that depending on the light seals, of course, you could probably whack a film in and start shooting straight away. My advice is don't start looking to buy cameras at Sunday evening when everybody's selling their cameras, because the prices for anything that's half decent gets overinflated, unless you, like I say, go for a good, reliable camera that isn't perhaps potentially quite as popular as some of the other cameras. These Praktica BX20s, for example, it's got a bid on it, but they don't go for much money. They're good cameras. This one looks like it needs you know, a bit of cleaning up, but they're fairly modern, so probably working quite well. It does need quite a lot of cleaning up, but it's £4.99 at the moment. I mean, £4.99. You can hardly buy a coffee for that. Okay, here we go. We've got the Pentax P30. £5.55, 2 bids, 8 watches. Keep your eye on this little baby. I don't like the lens 2880, but you know, it's okay. Start a lens. If you're looking for a good all-round camera, it's got light metering but pretty much manual camera. Here we go. Shutter speed, aperture, or program automatic mode. This one looks to be reasonably clean and it's quite modern, so the foam light seals tend to be in really good condition. So this is currently going at £5.55 after 2 bids. So I wouldn't think this would go much more than 20 quid. But it's a great camera, it just works. Buy it, whack a film in for 20 odd quid, you've got a lovely 35mm reliable camera. I don't understand why people don't buy these. They're good cameras. Anyway, moving on, let's have a look, see if there's anything else going here. Hachette Pentax K1000, £3.20. Okay, so look, 21 watches, 5 bids. I mean, that's obviously going to go for ridiculous money. So, you know, it is what it is, really. If you want to spend your money on something that is completely overrated, that will probably go for £100. That will probably go for £20. You know, even if you bought a nice fast lens for that Pentax, you'd end up with a really nice camera for, you know, probably 40, 50 quid. You get this Pentax for probably 120 quid and probably still riddled with problems, got to change light seals and all sorts of other things. But yeah, the Minolta SRTs, they're good, solid, reliable, dependable, heavy, robust cameras. Always be suspicious of people who can't take a photograph in focus. Anyway, this is, well, it's got a filter on it, so hopefully the lens has been slightly protected. It's 28mm 3.5 lens, so it's okay. Yeah, they're good cameras. The Minoltas are good cameras, pretty reliable and solid. Pretty much a manual camera, but they are good, solid, reliable cameras. For first time camera, again, you know, it's got no bids on it. Starting price is too high, but it's got a 28mm and a 50mm lens. I suspect that means f2 lens, not an f1.2 lens. If it had an f1.2 lens, I would definitely be bidding on it. Yeah, okay, so it's a f2 lens, but yeah, it's a nice camera. Solid, reliable, great first camera. 50 quid, probably go for about 60 quid, but to be honest, it's overpriced starting price, which is why it's got no bids on it. Unfortunately, people don't know the value of the cameras and they start the starting price at too high a value. Here's a Honeywell Pentax. It's not the Hachette Pentax, it's the Honeywell one. The Honeywell Spotmatic is a good camera, and this one looks to be in pretty good condition. Starting bid of £25, but there is an offer facility as well. Pretty basic cameras, almost completely manual, but do have an inbuilt light meter. I'm always suspicious of people who just shove in photographs. I mean, how do you know they're photographs taken from that camera? Could be any camera, could be just photographs taken off the internet. So I'd ignore those. And there's the usual blurb, blah 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 about it. New light seals, been CLA'd, perfect working order. Well, CLA'd, has it really been stripped out right down and all the parts individually cleaned, or has it just have new light seals? Probably just new light seals. Black and white images taken with this camera. Well, that remains to be seen. Potentially, perhaps. Starting price of £25. It's a great camera. If you could get one and get yourself a nice little lens to go with it, it'd be a nice camera. So definitely think about that. Here's a Spotmatic 2, SP2, with a 1.4 lens. That's a fast lens. That is a really nice lens. But it's 169, you know. So again, it's got no bids because the starting price is way too high. Way too high. Here's a laugh. Nikon FA with motor drive. £375. Come on, let's keep it in the real world. Okay, so here's a Olympus 35RC 2.8 lens. No bids. But let's do a little forensic on it. You can always see the front lens has got a slight kink in it. That means that it's probably been dropped. And although it's got all the paraphernalia that comes with it, you can see there's a lot of corrosion around the battery side of things. if you look at the top, it's in pretty rough condition. Now, will they show us with the back door open? No, not going to show us with the back door open. So if you check the dodgy wording, it would say something like believed to be in full working order, though not used recently. Well, we know what that means, and hence has no bids, and the starting price is too high because it needs a lot of work. Okay, here's another tank of a camera, the Canon FT-QL quick load. It's got no bids on it, £25. This is a nice camera. This will need cleaning up. It's got a 1.8 lens, which looks like it's probably got a filter on it, so the lens looks like it could have been protected. It's got the quick load back. The top plate looks to be it's okay, it's dirty, but you know, it is an old camera. It says it's in working condition, and I'm assuming the light seals would need to be replaced, but as long as you're willing to do that sort of work, it's a nice enough camera. £25, what's it going to go for? £35, £40? With a bit of work, you've got yourself a nice, solid, reliable camera. It does say in the spec here, shows some signs of wear, obviously. Lens is in good conditions, no fungal growth. It's been tested with a new battery and the metering checked. So, you know, what's not to like, really? Could do with a bit of a clean up, but that's about it. For cheapish money, that's a good, very good camera. Here's a nice camera. It's a Nikon F100. It's not the pro range, but most people would class it as a pro camera. It's only the body. It's got £32 on it, 31 watches and 3 bids. That will probably go for a reasonable amount of money, but I've seen those in good condition going body only for up to £100, and you put a nice lens on there for £150. You've got very, very capable lens. You'll see a lot of professional people using the Nikon F100. Definitely, I've got one, and they are super cameras. Very robust, very reliable. The back of this one looks to be well used, but having said that, they are super reliable cameras, and the foam seals look to be okay. Its current bid is £32. I mean, who knows what that will go for, but it is a pretty good camera. Here's an example of something that's pretty ridiculous. 1.8 lens, the f301. Okay, it's a manual focus, nice Nikon camera, nothing wrong with it at all. £178 starting bid. Well, no, it's just not going to happen. That sort of camera is 50-60 quid all day long. I don't understand why they would put £178 on a camera like that. They are living in a delusional world. It's a Canon QL17. That's a 1.7 lens on a point and shoot camera. It's a really popular camera. This is the G3, quite a late model, and it is a wonderful camera. If you can find one in really good condition that isn't completely overpriced. This one looks to be in nice condition, but then when you look at it, you can see it's got a right old dented lens, front lens element on the camera. Okay, it's got a rubbishy old case. Looks to be pretty clean, but that lens, what's happened there? Someone's dropped the camera. There's some slight denting on the bottom lip of the lens. Apart from that, it's mint. Also, original case, not tested, obviously. Appears to be working. For 60 quid. Those things go for well over £100. Nice camera, but that front part of the lens lets it down because you don't know what problems are lurking behind that. I'm a bit obsessed with the Canonettes, especially the QL17s. I've gone through and sold so many of those, and probably 9 I've bought, 6 there've been something disastrously wrong with. So I've got to learn my lesson, stop going for the Canonettes, especially the modern ones. They are definitely overpriced. Okay, here we go. Canon CM4S, £21. What's not to like about this camera? It probably as a sort of starter camera in the film world. It's got a nice little 1.9 Shinnon lens. The body is in nice condition. It's the black body, which is quite well sought after. It's got a 1.8 lens. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a nice clean camera. Yeah, it's okay. It's a bit plasticky, but it's still very reliable and well built. It looks like the light seals are probably okay, may need replacing. It's not a major job. We're starting here at £21 for a camera that you could probably whack a film in and start shooting within half an hour. Nice little camera. That's definitely one for the list of anybody that's looking to buy a starter camera, without spending a fortune, of course. Okay, and that's about it for the cameras on eBay that are coming up for sale on the Sunday evening of the 15th of October. There's not a lot there. There's definitely not a lot there to get excited about. There are a few that I think are quite good. The Nikon F501, that is the prime camera of the day, £25. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these cameras. They do everything that anybody would ever want to have on a film camera, and they've got a very good shutter speed as well. That would probably be the one that I would put a bid on. I think next week I'll probably be doing a video on the cameras that I've bought in the last 2 weeks, with prices and breakdown of the cameras and showing what was good and bad about them. So stay tuned, please like and subscribe to my channel for lots of stuff on everything to do with art and photography and all sorts of other stuff, including letterpress printing and other bits and pieces. I'd appreciate you liking and subscribing to the channel, and hopefully there'll be something there that will interest you. Until next time.